Have you noticed how often we eat while feeling rushed, distracted, or overwhelmed? Not because we're starving, but because something inside us feels unsettled. We reach for food not as nourishment but as escape. We chew not to taste, but to forget. And somewhere along the way, eating became less about care and more about coping. Now, there's no shame in that. Life is heavy, and sometimes a meal feels like the only comfort within reach. But if we're not careful, we start feeding our fears instead of our bodies. We start using food to fill what silence was meant to heal. The body isn't built to digest when it feels unsafe. You can eat the healthiest meal in the world, but if your system is tense, hurried, or afraid, it won't know how to receive it. The muscles tighten, the breath shortens, the heart races, and the digestive process stalls. It's not your fault. It's just how the body protects itself. When you eat in stress, your body doesn't hear nourishment. It hears survival. And survival mode is not a state of growth. It's not a state of healing. It's a holding pattern, a wait, a freeze. We don't often realize how much our state of mind affects the state of our body. But they're not separate. They listen to each other. They respond to each other. So when your mind is anxious and your body is bracing, your food becomes something else, something heavier. Not because of what it is, but because of how it was received. This is why peace is not a luxury before a meal. It's a necessity. You don't have to be completely calm. You don't need to have a perfect day. But you do need to pause, even just for a few seconds, long enough to breathe, long enough to send the message, I'm safe now. That breath tells your body it can begin the sacred work of receiving, absorbing, transforming. I'm not asking you to change your life overnight. Just to change one moment. One breath before your next bite. One pause before the fork lifts. One quiet acknowledgement, this is food. I am here. I am safe. That may sound small, but the body hears it like music. Many people spend years chasing health, supplements, diets, treatments, without ever asking what state they are in when they eat. But if your food is meant to support you, then your body must be in a position to receive that support. And that begins with stillness. Stillness doesn't mean stopping everything. It means choosing to be present with the moment in front of you. You can eat simply, quietly, with awareness, even in the middle of a busy day, even if everything else is chaotic. That moment of presence becomes a sanctuary, a place where your body can begin to trust again. Trust is what healing needs most. And trust is built through consistency, not perfection. So be gentle with yourself. If you've eaten in stress for years, don't punish yourself now. Just notice. Notice what it feels like to eat slowly, to chew with intention, to breathe before you begin. That noticing is the beginning of a new way, a way where food is not the enemy, not the comfort, not the punishment, but the invitation to slow down, to come home to yourself, to remember that your body is worthy of care. You don't need more rules. You don't need guilt. You need awareness. And with awareness comes peace. And with peace comes digestion. And with digestion comes health. Not just physical, but emotional, spiritual, and relational. This is not just about the food you eat. It's about the way you treat yourself while eating. And that matters more than you think. So next time your plate is full and your mind is loud, pause. Breathe. Tell yourself gently, I do not need to rush. I can receive what's in front of me. Because healing doesn't begin with food. It begins with how you meet it. After a long day, it feels good to rest. That's natural. The body is tired. The mind needs silence. So when the meal is done, lying down feels like the most gentle thing to do. But often, what feels gentle in the moment can cause trouble in the hours that follow. This isn't about guilt. It's about understanding. When we lie down right after eating, we interrupt a process that is already delicate. Digestion is a quiet work. It needs time. It needs space. It needs the body to remain active, just enough, for gravity to assist what the stomach begins. You see, when you stand or sit up right after a meal, your body receives a signal. That signal says, we're still here, we're still working. But when you lie flat, especially too soon, that signal is cut off. Pressure builds, acids rise, and the system begins to resist itself. This isn't punishment, it's a design. And like all good designs, it asks for participation. The body isn't asking for more effort. It's asking for cooperation. Now you may think, it's such a small thing. What difference can it really make? But small things repeated shape the rhythm of your life. What you do after you eat becomes part of what your body learns to expect. And over time, your body either learns to thrive or to defend. Many people carry discomfort they can't explain, Heaviness they don't trace back to anything specific. But often, the cause is hidden in these quiet patterns. The ones we overlook. The ones we normalize. The ones we treat as harmless because they're familiar. So let's slow this down. When the meal ends, consider a few more minutes of upright stillness. A short walk. A light chore. Even simply sitting by the window with your thoughts. You're not being asked to do more. You're being invited to stay awake to your body's rhythm. The stomach, the gut, the organs, all are still working after you finish your plate. They don't stop when you stop chewing. They continue, faithfully, quietly. And the least we can do is not interfere. You don't need to fear lying down. But you do need to respect timing. Let your body complete what it started. Give it the dignity of uninterrupted process. Your health depends on it more than you think. And deeper still, this speaks to more than digestion. It speaks to the tendency we all have to rush into stillness before something is ready to rest. How often do we want to disconnect before we've truly processed? How often do we collapse into distraction before our emotions are settled? How often do we silence the body before it has finished speaking? We are tired, yes. But sometimes our tiredness comes not from doing too much, but from cutting things short. From refusing to allow closure to complete. From demanding rest before readiness. This is not a lecture. It's a reminder. A reminder that your body is wise. That healing has a pace. And that the small window after a meal is not empty. It is sacred. How you treat that time can shape your energy, your sleep, your clarity, your comfort. So take a few minutes. Stay present. Allow movement. Nothing strenuous. Just enough to say, I'm here. I'm listening. I'm willing to help. You won't always get it right. That's okay. But when you do, when you honor that space, you'll begin to feel the difference. A quiet ease. A deeper rest. A body that no longer feels betrayed but supported. Because true rest doesn't come from lying down. It comes from completing what was started. You've probably heard it before. That drinking cold water right after a meal isn't the best idea. And maybe, like many, you brushed it off. It's water. It's harmless. It helps everything go down. That's what we tell ourselves. But the body has its own truth. Quiet. Ancient. Precise. Your stomach is a place of fire, not metaphorical fire, real, living heat. That warmth is what breaks down food. It's what transforms what you eat into what you become. It's the center of digestion, and it works best undisturbed, like a flame that needs space to rise. When you flood your system with ice, cold water after a meal, you don't just cool your mouth. You cool that fire. You confuse the process. You send a mixed signal. The body was preparing to digest, and suddenly it must shift to defend. It tightens. It slows. It redirects energy. Something soft becomes something strained. Now, I don't say this to alarm you. I say it to awaken you. To help you notice what you've perhaps never been taught to notice. Cold water may feel refreshing to your senses, but to your stomach, it's a disruption. And what disrupts often delays. What delays over time begins to damage. We live in a world that values speed and sensation. We want food fast, and we want it followed by something that feels even faster. We chase the cold, the fizzy, the sharp. But the body was not made for extremes. It was made for balance, for rhythm, for cooperation. Warm water, or room temperature, is not trendy, but it's kind. Kind to the fire that's still doing its work. Kind to the organs that still carry your burden. It says, I understand you're still moving. I'll not interrupt. It's a simple act of agreement. And agreement is health. You don't need to be rigid. You don't need to throw away every cold drink. But you do need to be thoughtful. Especially after a meal. Especially when your body is most vulnerable. It's not about fear. It's about respect for the delicate, faithful systems within you that never stop serving you. Many ailments begin in the gut, not always loudly. Sometimes just as bloating, discomfort, sluggishness. Things we learn to live with. But living with pain should not be normal. It should be a signal. A gentle call to examine, to slow down, to reconsider the habits we've picked up without reflection. Cold water isn't evil. It simply isn't aligned with the moment your body is in after eating. That's all. And knowing this gives you something rare, a choice. The chance to act in wisdom, not just reflex. The ability to honor your body in quiet, invisible ways. And that's the deeper point. That's the truth most people miss. Health isn't built in big events. It's built in these small, consistent choices. No one will see them. No one will clap for them. But your body will remember. It always remembers. When you care for it gently, it responds with trust, with calm, with clarity. It stops defending and starts healing. It stops bracing and starts receiving. That shift, though unseen, changes everything. Not just how you digest food, but how you experience life. Because the way we treat the body mirrors the way we treat the soul. Do we interrupt it with noise? Or do we sit with it in understanding? Do we flood it with what feels good in the moment? Or do we offer what supports it in the long run? We all have a choice every day after every meal. A small, quiet choice that no one will notice. But your body will. And over time, those choices become peace. Not the peace that comes from silence outside you, but the peace that grows within you. The kind that stays. So next time you finish eating, ask yourself gently, what would honor the fire inside me? Because how you treat your fire determines how brightly you live. There is a quiet moment after a meal that many of us ignore. Not because we mean to, but because life has trained us to move quickly, always to the next thing. A phone call, a message, a task, a screen. The mind rushes ahead even before the body has caught up, and the meal, what could have been a moment of peace, becomes just another item crossed off the list. But the body doesn't move that fast. It was not made for constant urgency. It was made for rhythm, for process, for sequence. After you eat, something sacred begins within you. Digestion, yes, but more than that. The body shifts from gathering to receiving, from taking in to breaking down, and if we rush into the next thing too quickly, we interrupt that shift. We may not notice it at first. A little tightness, a little bloating, a heaviness we blame on the food. But often, it's not the food that burdens us. It's the lack of space we gave it. It's the absence of pause. Just like the mind, the body needs transition. A soft edge between doing and resting. Between consuming and moving forward. When we skip that edge, we carry the last thing into the next. And over time, that becomes a kind of inner noise. A buildup of unfinished signals. Tension without name. So I offer this not as correction, but as perspective. Let the body finish one thing before beginning another. Give yourself 10 minutes after a meal to simply be. Not to perform. Not to distract. Just to be. You don't need to sit cross-legged. You don't need to meditate or pray, though you can. You only need to stay with your breath, with your body, with your stillness. In those 10 minutes, you are telling your body, you're not behind. You're not late. You are allowed to rest while you work. Because digestion is work. Quiet work. Invisible work. But important work. And when we ignore it, when we rush into the next decision or demand, we ask the body to serve two masters: repair and react. And that conflict, though silent, drains you. The world won't remind you to pause. It will push. It will demand. It will fill every space with noise. Which is why this moment, this small choice to wait, is a kind of rebellion. A gentle one. A wise one. It's how you reclaim your peace without asking for permission. I know there are things to do. I know the world doesn't always allow for slowness. But what I'm asking of you is not time. It's attention. 10 minutes of presence is more powerful than an hour of escape. And if you say, I don't have 10 minutes, then I gently ask, what is more important than giving your body what it needs to serve you well? You give your time to everyone else. This is your reminder to give a little back to yourself. And not out of selfishness. Out of wisdom. Because the calmer you are, the clearer you become. And the clearer you are, the more peace you offer to others. That's what this is really about. Not digestion alone, but peace. A peace that begins in the body and flows outward into your relationships, your decisions, your days. When we live without pause, we live without reflection. And when we live without reflection, we forget what matters. So use this moment, after the meal, as a return, to rhythm, to quiet, to kindness. You don't need to change everything. Just this one small habit. Just this one doorway between eating and doing. And slowly you'll notice, your body softens. Your mind clears. Your day no longer races ahead of you. And you begin to feel what was always waiting underneath the rush, the strength of stillness, and the wisdom of waiting. When was the last time you tasted your food without rushing through it? Not just chewed it, not just swallowed it, but truly tasted it. Aware of the hands that prepared it, the body that receives it, and the breath between each bite. Most people don't eat that way anymore. They eat in cars, over keyboards, between errands. And sometimes they eat not because they're hungry, but because they're anxious, distracted, or numb. But the body knows the difference. And so does the spirit. There's something sacred about a meal. Not because of what's on the plate, but because of what it represents: life, provision, mercy renewed. You didn't make the sun rise. You didn't pull the nutrients from the earth. And yet, here you are, fed again, nourished again, still breathing, Still here, that deserves your attention, if only for a moment. I've spoken to many people, young and old, tired and searching. And I've come to believe this: the absence of gratitude in small things eventually becomes the absence of meaning in all things. You may think skipping a quiet pause before eating is harmless. But what you're skipping is a relationship with yourself, with the world, with the source of all things. And when that relationship becomes distant, even abundance feels empty. Gratitude is not about being cheerful. It's not a forced smile or a nice-sounding phrase. It's an awareness. A quiet, settled awareness that says, this did not have to be. But it is, and I see it. That kind of awareness changes how you eat, how you live, how you love. Because when you begin to notice the miracle in your everyday bread, you begin to see the sacredness in your everyday life. Some people ask, why does it matter? Food is just food. But it's not just food. It's the practice of how you meet the world. Do you meet it with hurry, or do you meet it with humility? Do you consume it blindly, or do you receive it with care? The way you eat reflects the way you live, and the way you live shapes the kind of soul you become. You don't have to light candles. You don't have to pray aloud. You don't have to be anyone else. But you do need to pause. You need to look at your meal, even just for 5 seconds, and say inwardly, thank you. I receive this. Let it nourish what is good in me. That is enough. That is more than enough. Some days, you'll forget. You'll fall into routine. That's all right. But remember, every meal is another invitation, not to be perfect, but to be present. And presence, true presence, is what heals the mind. It's what steadies the body. It's what allows peace to root itself in places that used to be rushed, tense, or hollow. If you've struggled with guilt around food, with shame around your habits, let it go. That's not what this is about. I'm not here to make you feel small. I'm here to help you feel human again. And gratitude brings you back to that, slowly, quietly, faithfully. You see, the body doesn't just need nutrients. It needs permission to rest. It needs signals of safety. And gratitude is one of those signals. When you thank your food, you're telling your body, you are not in battle right now. You can stop bracing. You can begin healing. That one small moment before a meal can change the way your entire system functions. You won't always get it right. But every time you do, you realign. Not just physically, but spiritually. You remember that life is not earned, it is given. That nothing is owed, and everything is offered. That you are not the source, but you are deeply loved by the source. So eat with awareness. Receive with gentleness. And let gratitude soften the edges of your day. Because in the end, a quiet, thank you, said before a meal will shape the kind of heart that stays soft, even in a hard world.